So hello all, welcome to my new video. So in this video, we are going to create an interview question and answer site. So you might have seen many applications where you can see many questions are there, answers, and somewhere have some site let you to guess the answer. Then if you click on the show answer, then you get to see the answer. So kind of that application we are going to create. So what I have did is like I had a collection of so many interview questions, so that I have created in and that I have stored in the database, and I have written the APIs for them. So basically, what I have done first, I will explain you the tables what I have. So first table is my interview language. So in this table, I have stored all my languages. So let me just open this. So here you can see all the languages I have. So here you can see language name, language ID is the primary key, language, Angular, JavaScript, and the logo also for that language. So let's say Angular is a language. Now Angular has so many subtopics. So one more table is there, that is in language tuple. So here I will have the topics of that particular language. So let's say language ID is 39 for Angular. So let's try to filter it out. Language ID equals to 39. So here you can see all the topics for that particular language. Then we have a question table. So here we have all the question of all the topics. So let's say if I need to check questions of my components. So language topic ID. So here let's try to filter it out. Here I will filter it out by topic ID. So here you can see we will get all the question of the component. So whatever the data I have in the database, that I have filtered, that for this database I have created the API. Now we will use those API and we will show the questions into this UI. So this is just a mock UI I have created. You can find this HTML code in my repository, YouTube project template in the interview folder, I think. So here this will be question we will show, and the answer we have. Here we will show the language name and the topic name. And here we will show just the logo. Then here we will show what number of language I have and what number of questions I have for all those languages. This is just a static data, but we will make it dynamic. Then top categories, what are the categories we have? Question categories, we will show it over here. Tags I have not implemented yet, but in some days I will add that in the API also. So you can make use of that also. Recent question, again, whatever the type, whatever the, what we can say, language we select or the topic we select, related question, we will show it over here. So now what are the APIs which we are going to use? So if you go to freejirasim.in, so here you can find all the APIs. I haven't provided the post and the put API because I don't want to get this data modified by anyone. So only get APIs I have provided. So you can make use of this API. You can run the project on localhost 4200 only. APIs are free. You can access it now. And again, whatever the project I will be building, I will be hosting it on the GitHub pages. So you will be able to access all the interview questions I have. So let's say if we click on the get all language, let's try to execute. So this API is responsible to get all the languages I have in my database. So here you can see I'm getting Angular, React along with the logo and everything. So let's get started now. The project will be again with Angular 17. So all the projects I'm doing now with is Angular 17 only, but simultaneously I will be explaining with the previous version also what was the new and what is the new thing over here. We will try to cover what new things are in the Angular 17, whatever I remember when I recorded. Sometimes what does happen, like I discuss it like we are going to see, but again I jump to I carried out to the using old version only features. So the basic empty project I have created. So now to create the project, like ng, new, and the project name. Here I have given this project name, whatever the repository name I have, interview question app Angular 17. This also you will be able to find. So just like that I have created, it will ask you two questions like, do you need a CSS or SAS? So you can just enter CSS. Again, it will ask you like, do you need a server-side rendering? So you can say no, because we are not going to use server-side rendering. Once you do that, project will be created. After that, I have added Bootstrap and Font Awesome over here. And after that, after installing Bootstrap and CSS, again, you can just go to NPM site, get the Bootstrap command and get the Font Awesome command, package.json will be updated. Now, so once I run the application, this is the default page, what we get. When we create an empty project, we get this. Once you install the Bootstrap and the font awesome, the next thing you have to do is in angular.json, you need to add the entries of the CSS over here in the style section. Make sure that you add it, otherwise Bootstrap is installed, but classes you won't be able to use. So this is where you add those links. Now let's close this. Now, what are the components we are going to need? So component as in, if you see over here, either we can complete whole thing in a one thing, but we will just separate some component. So first component is like home component. So in this component, we will display these things, this whole structure. It will act as a like a parent component. Navbar, we will put it inside the app component. So app component will have navbar. Then home component will be acting as a parent component. Then in this parent component, what you can see, this is nothing but a question block. You can see this card is nothing responsible for the question. So we will create a reusable component that will be question card. We will try to create as many as reusable components so we can cover input, output, what all things we have. Then we have a question count block. So this also we will create as a reusable. So question count. It is not necessary that you should create reusable component. Everything you can create in an app component only, not required some specific component. But just to whenever you are practicing, you should practice in a way that you could implement all the topics or you could cover all the concept we have in Angular as much as you can. So that's why. Then top categories also we can create a reusable component. Sorry. Top categories. Right. Now let's get started first. So in app folder, what I'm going to do, just we can either create a component in directly in the app folder also, but just to separate out the folder, we are going to create a folder like pages. In this component, we will create our component. So right click on the pages, open in new terminal. So here we will create our first component. So ng generate component. Either you can write the complete word generate or component, or you can use the shortcut also. So home component, the first component I'm creating. So in Angular 17, you don't get app module. So app module is getting replaced with app config, not a replacement, but we have app config over here. So we don't get app module. So what are the things we have to take care that I will be explaining. So first component we have created, then we have a question component. So now question card is my reusable. So instead of putting that in the pages folder, or let's create everything in the pages only, doesn't matter. So ng generate component question card, enter. So second component we have created. Then question count component we have to create. Question count. So for now we will just start development with the three components. Again, I'm repeating, this is not kind of a project you are going to do, but it will be a nice idea where this kind of concept you might be using in various industrial projects. Not like that, but same kind of questionnaire, something will be there that you will need logic, how you do like these things. Okay, so let's now we have created the component. So after creating component, we can create the routes of the same. So we get the app route.ts. So here we get an empty array created already of the route. So we just need to create. So first path :empty. First I'm creating a default route. Component will be, sorry, we are going to create the default route. So instead of component, it will be redirect to and redirect to home. And path mesh strategy we need to pass with the value full. So this is my default route. So if I don't have anything in the route, it will redirect to the home. Now I need the home route. Then component will be home component. Now in Angular 17, I think from Angular 16 only we had this feature. Previously, if we have to set some title on the tab, what I mean is here you can see something is there on the tab name. So that you can set while creating route only. So that will be using title. home. This is nothing but a page title we are setting. And then now this question cart and question count, these are reusable components. So these are not, we are not going to access them by routes. So we don't need that. So let's remove it. So only one route I will create for now. Now in app component, I will have the navbar. So let's go to the code I have created. So this is the navbar, a simple one only. We need to put it navbar over here, and after navbar we need router outlet. So you can see I'm able to use the router outlet. That's because in app component, router outlet is already imported over here. So again, rule goes with Angular 17, whatever you use that you need to import, whether it is forms module, HTTP client module, whatever you are going to use, even router link also, if you have to use the router link, you need to import it. Otherwise you cannot use it. So if router, let me remove this. So now I don't have imported router outlet. So you can see it started giving error. It doesn't understand what is router outlet. So this is the new thing in Angular 17. Whatever you use, that you need to import. Now I need the CSS. So CSS file is there in the same folder. You will see in interview question, HTML will be over here, and what are the CSS I have, that is over here. Again, I have not written this CSS. I have just copy pasted it from the Google, some template I have used. So now CSS will go into the style section. This is reusable only. So I'm putting everything over here. Some error is there. Let me just check. So many unused CSS are also there, but I didn't have the time to remove those. Let's just save and check if we are able to get the navbar properly. Somewhere BG13 is there. Let's try to remove that image. Properly not saved. Let's save it again. BG13 again, somewhere it is. Let's just check what our images are there. I will just remove it. Images. Node in, we don't need this also because I have not used anything, just the CSS I had. Let's save. So now you can see on the page load, we are successfully navigated to the home tab. In the app component, we had added the navbar. So that is visible over here. And the home component should be visible, but home component is not coming. So that's why, because we might have to add some padding. So let's add a container over here. Inside that container, I will put my router outlet, and here I will give PT3. Let's just save. Still, it is not visible. Let's try to inspect. Home component is there. It is also visible. Okay, so somewhere font color white might be there. That's why it is not visible. Let's check from where it is getting that color. Okay, so from body, let me just search. Let's remove that. From here, I have to remove. So now you can see by default home component is loading. Now we will start one by one thing. Now on the page load, I have this two dropdown. This dropdown will be responsible to show all the languages, and this will be responsible to show the topics of the selected language. This means this is dependent dropdown. Once I select the language, let's say I select the language, I should get all the topics of my subtopic of the language I have selected. So let's get these two drop downs also. Let's go to the HTML code. So now I'm just copy pasting the whole code. Then we will just implementing one by one thing. So now in home component, I'm pasting everything. Let's check if we are getting the same UI. Yes, so we are getting the same UI. Now, on the page load, we need to call the API where we will get the language, and that whatever the data we get from the API, that we need to display it over here. Right. So for that, we are going to make an API call. So this is my language. Now, if you see, we are going to create class and interface also. So if you see, in this API, we are getting language ID, language, and the logo. So let's create an interface for that. Let me just close this now. Now in app folder, I will create a folder again, model. And inside this model, I will create first model, let's say language dot model dot ts. Now here I will create an interface. Sorry, export interface I language. Now what are the things we have in language API? Language ID, data type will be number, then language and the logo. Language will be of data type string and logo will be again string. So we have created first interface. Now we are going to make the API call. So in Angular 17, if you remember with the previous version, we used to, in app module, we used to add HTTP client module, then only we were able to make the API call. But now in Angular 17, either you can do the same thing in component. You used to add the HTTP client module. So either you can do that same thing in the component in the import section here, or in app config also you can do. So that will be, you can in the provider just write provide HTTP client. Sorry, this thing you need to add. That is also enough. So this is just equivalent to what we used to do in the app module for HTTP client module. This is the first new feature. Let's just write those, what things we have done. Replacement of HTTP client module. Right, so we will note it down like what are the new things we have used. So first thing, like HTTP provide HTTP client is there, that we can add in app config in the provider section. Now let's create the service. So just like app folder, again I will create a folder that is will be service, and in service I will create first service. Either we don't have so many API calls, so I will just create one service and all the API call I will put it over there only. So in service folder, let's create an service. I need to open a new terminal. I need to create a service. So now to create the service, again ng generate service. Let's name it as an interview. Enter. So it will create service and the service.ts test file. So it has created service. Now here the API call is as usual. So here let's select, let's create private HTTP HTTP client. Now this is dependency injection, one way of creating object of your service. Now in component, we will see the another way. But for now, let's write our API call. So get all language. Just a normal function. Now from this function, we are going to make the API call. So that, and whatever the data we get, that we are going to return also. So return this dot HTTP dot get. Now we need to pass the URL. So if you see, whatever the URL I have, something will be common up to this. This will be common. So we will create just a variable over here. I'm not creating environment and constant everything, because just a limited number of API call are there. So here I will create a variable API and point colon string, and the value will be this. This is my static thing. Just after the method name will be changed. So now this will go over here. So this dot this plus concatenate. Now after that, we need to add our method name. Method name is get all language. So let's paste it over here. So now if you see, if I hover on this function now, so it is saying like this function is returning a data type observable because we are returning HTTP GET. So GET will by default return an observable. So let's provide the data type for this function also. So observable from bracket any. Now, instead of any, what you can do, if you see all my API are going to return the data type, are going to return the same model, means message, result, and data. Only three things are there. Just the data will be changing, but these three fields are going to be there. So let's create an interface for this also. So let's go to model again, export, interface, API, response model, message, colon string, result will be Boolean, and the data. Now data, I don't know. For each API, different type of data I'm going to get. So here I will put it API because this is the dynamic. Let's just format. Now, this model I'm going to use in my service. Instead of this any, now I'm going to return this. So now if I have to use this model again, obviously I need to use that import. So over here. Now, once we provide the data type for this function, so after get also in angle bracket, we need to provide this thing, like what data I'm going to get. So this is how your API call should look like. So we are done with the service. Now let's get back to the component, that is home component. So now in home component, first thing on the page load, we are going to make an API call. So let's implement our first hook, that is on init lifecycle event. Once we do that, we need to implement it also on init. So once we implement, it will ask you to create the ng on init function also, like this. Now we need the constructor. Now, first thing in interview service, we have created object, we have created a dependency of HTTP client in the constructor. This is an old way. New way is by using inject. So that I will showcase it over here. Let's say we need to create an object of interview service. Just let's create the same thing. Private interview SRV, data type will be interview service. This is old way. In the constructor, we used to create the dependency object. Now the new way is using inject. So inject is like, let's what do we say? Let's give a name like service is equal to @inject round bracket, and users need to provide the service which you want to inject. So now this, why it is giving error? We don't need that. Okay, yeah, we don't need that. So this is equivalent to this. So this is the new thing which we have got. I think again, I'm not sure it is from 16 or 17, but I think 16 from 17 it is there. So this is also new thing. Okay, we can create an object of any service by using inject also, because this thing you are going to need when you create an auth guard, because now guard are nothing but arrow function. So in arrow function, you don't get the constructor, right? So you need to create service object like this. Let's remove the constructor now. Now, so on the payload, we need to call the API. So let's create the function again to just subscribe to that function, load languages. So here, this dot, our service name, service dot, only one function is there, that is get all language. Now we will subscribe to it. Result colon. Now here we can provide the data type of the API response. So API response model. So once I select, import is almost added. Now, this is one way. I'm just telling you the normal way. Then we will use the async pipe. So for load language, I have just used the async pipe. Now, so whatever the data I get, that we need to store it also somewhere. So let's create the object. So language list colon, now data type. So we have created an object interface of the language model. So let's add that array empty. We need the import also. So let's just add the import. So you can see import has been added. So whatever the response we get from that API call, that we are going to store it over here. So this dot language list is equal to res dot. Now you can see we are getting the IntelliSense. This is because we have provided data type to this result. So this is the beauty of creating interface and classes. You don't have a chance to make the spelling mistake. Let's select the data. Now this we have to call on the ng on it. Once on the page load, we need to call it. So like this. Now whatever the data we have got, that we have stored in the languages. So let's bind this on the drop down of the language. So this is my drop down. So here, instead of the static, let's make this option dynamic. So star ng for, this is old way. In another select drop down, we will use for loop also. Now here you can see syntax is correct, but still I'm getting error. It is saying like ng for direct was used, but not common module was not important, because again the rule goes whatever we use we need to import that. So ng for comes from the common module. So in home component you need to import common module. So now if we go, so now you can see error is gone. Now we need to bind the value also using property binding. Value we will bind the ID. So item dot, here you can see, here you also get the IntelliSense of whatever the properties we have, and here we will show just the property name, that is language. So item language will go over here. So let's just test these things. On the page load, we should be able to see, make the API call, and we should get the data. Let's just test that. So yeah, so whatever the languages I have, API call is there and we have shown the data. Let me just show you in the network tab also. So let's just reload. So on the page load, you will be able to see the network call. So here you can see we have got the response 200, and in response we have got the data. In the data, actually we have got the data. So that only we have binded over here. So if we see the inspect, so in the value you can see we have bind the value, and in between we are just showing the language name. Now one thing is done. So this was what we did over here. This is the old way, like getting the calling the service function and subscribing to it. We can use async pipe also to do the same thing. Now on language change, we can do another way. Means on the language change, we need to call another API to get the topics of the selected language. So we have to use API, that is get language topic by ID. So let's say, what is the language ID for Angular? 39. So let's try to use it over here. So if I pass 39 over here and execute, so you will get all the topic for the particular language. So here you can see we are getting the language topics of the Angular language. So now this API we need to use. So only this much only. Now let's go to service and let's create another function. I'm just going to copy paste. I won't explain everything again and again. So this is second function, get topics by language ID. And for this function, we will have a parameter. So that will be language ID. Data type will be number. Now this is my method name. So up till now, up to equal to this will go over here. And after that, we just need to bind the ID. So that will be lang ID will go over here, the parameter. So this should be your second function. Now, into your home component, this was the old way of creating things. Now I'm going to use the async pipe. Now to use the async pipe, first thing we have to create an observable. So let's create an observable. So topic list dollar. Whenever we create a variable where we are going to store the observable, make sure you add a dollar. This is not a rule, but just to follow the standard, we use that. Colon observable. And what type of data we are going to store in, what type of data we are going to emit from this observable. Okay, we need to create the interface also. So this, let's copy, let's create an object, interface of this. So export interface language topic. Let's replace the number. And the string. So this is our interface for the language topic. Let's format. Now this we have to use it over here. Let's add the import. Now it will say like it is not initialized. So here's the thing, like you can just add an undefined to it over here so that it won't throw that error. Now, this is an observable. Topic list is nothing but an observable. So we have to provide a stream of values also, like from where we have to subscribe the data to this observable. So in the page load only, sorry, once we change the drop down, we need to call this API call. So we will create a function on language change. Not sure it's going to work or not, but let's try. So on language change, what we need to do, we will get the ID, like event we will get :any, and let's create a variable which we will bind to the language dropdown. So language, or let's make it selected language :number. Let's initialize with 0. Now this variable we have to bind to the ng model of this dropdown. So here square bracket, round bracket, ng model. Now, so in previous version, if we have to use the ng model, we used to import forms model. But now here you need to add that same thing in the import section of your component only. So here forms model you need to add. Then you can use ng model. So whatever the language we select, that will be. Now on this drop-down change, we need to call our event. So change, the event which we have created is on language change. So now instead of change, we can use ng model change. And here we can pass $event. And here you will get the ID selected. Let's first debug that we are getting the ID or not. So now on drop-down change, our function should get triggered and we should get that whatever the ID we select. So if I select JavaScript, so in event, you can see 40 I'm getting. If I select Angular, you can see 39 I'm getting. So on the drop-down change, here we are getting the ID. Now here we need to add a subscribe to this topic list with our service function. So service, this dot service dot our second function, get topics by ID, get topics by language ID. Now for this function, we need to pass the language ID. Language ID, nothing but this event, like this. What it is saying. Okay, now if you see, the error is like this function is going to return data type of API response model, but the data type which we have added to this topic list is of language topic, because my API gives the response from 3 properties, and in the data we have the actual data. So here we can just map. Let's just use pipe, and we need to use map. How do we use map? Item colon, the data type I'm going to get is this. Data. Still it won't map operator. We go over here. Yeah, so now error is gone. Okay, So because whatever the response we get, we used to get the object, but from that we just need a properly data only. So that I have done. Now this variable, this observable, I can directly use on the another dropdown over here. So now let's just write the normal way star ng for let topic of our observable name and the async pipe. It is giving error. Oh, it can be null or undefined. I got it. So either undefined, because this observable we have created. So while creating, we have said like either it can be undefined or something. So for that, we need to add an ng container over here. So let's add ng container just to make sure that it is not undefined. So now this ng if topic async as topics. And this option, I will move it inside this. Now, whatever the data I get, that I have provided in the topic. So directly I can use it over here. Topic not equal to null. Why it is still giving error? My topic is not iterable to type any colon undefined. What is this error? Let's try the same thing over here again. Still it is giving error of null or undefined. Let me just figure out how to handle this. So sorry. So I forgot to read properly. So here you can say type language topic is not assignable to type iterable. Means it is saying like we cannot iterate on the single object. That's because we have missed to provide array over here. This is nothing but an array now. In this topic list, we are going to store array of this model. So that's why it was giving error. So now you can see that error is gone. So now here value. So topic dot language topic ID over here, and the topic name we have to show it over here. So topic dot the topic name. So let's just save and test if we are able to properly do this. So on the page load, we just have one API call, that is get all language. Now, if I change, so now you can see we have called this event. Let's continue. API call is there. Interview some so you can see here some space was there, I think, in service. So that's why, yeah. So you can see here space was there. So API call was, and this ID was static only. Let's remove that. Now our API call should work fine. So on the page load, get all language API call is there. Once we change the drop down, continue. So here you can see API call is success, and in the HTML we have just got two topics. So here, yes, so this is working. Now if I change the Angular, so here you can see Angular languages. If I select the React, here you can see React. So this is how we have successfully did the second thing, that is by using async pipe. So now here, the third thing we have used it, async pipe. Sorry, again, we have missed one thing. Instead of using ng for, we have to use for loop. So let's use that in the HTML. Now, instead of doing this normal ng for, instead of that, we can use our new for loop. So that is @ for loop, like this. So this is the same syntax we know from the for loop. So instead of item, we need to use this, and this option will go inside this. We don't need this ng for now. Instead of item, it should be topic. So this is the new for loop which we have got in Angular 17. Just like this for loop, we can use @if also. That also we will try. So this is how we have used the async pipe, and the new way in Angular 17 to write the for loop is this. So let's add it over here. @for loop also we have used. Now, two things we have done. On the page load language, we have called all the languages. And once we select the language, we have called the topics also. Next thing, once we select the topic, we need to get the questions of that topic over here. Now this is static, na? So once I select any topic, let's say I select Angular, and let's say I select the component. So I should get the questions I have for the component topic. So let's do that. So for that also we have the API. Let me just show you that API. So that is get questions by topic ID. So let's select anything. So for 39, let's say pipe question. So pipe topic ID is 30. Let's try that now. So if I pass 30 to this API, I will get all the question of pipe topic. So here you can see purpose of pipe, async pipe, chain pipe, parameter. So what are the questions I have added that we are getting? Now let's bind that. So this is going to be my method name. So first, obviously we have to write the function in API call, API service. So let's go over here. Again, I will just copy paste. Now the question function name will be get questions by topic ID. And here parameter we will get is topic ID. And the method name will be this. It will go over here. ID is only there. Remaining thing will be constant. Now this topic ID we have to pass it over here. So our function call is ready. Now remember, while creation we have created a question card over here. So that question card, let's move it. The HTML for the card, we had it over here. This article is nothing but that question. So let's move this piece of HTML code in the question card component. And for this question card component, let's create the input, because this is a reusable component, and this component we are going to use over here in the home component. Let me just remove this static thing. Now in call 9, again I will create a row, call 12, and here I will add my selector. Now this is going to be repetitive. Now you can see in home component, I'm trying to use the question card component. So again, the same rule goes. Whatever you want to use, you need to import that. So that we have to import in the import section. What we are going to use? Question card. So question card component. So now you can see the error is gone. Now because we have imported that particular component into our home component, so now we can use it, because all the component in the Angular 17 are standalone. Sorry, I forgot to miss this in the starting. So in Angular 17, all the components are standalone. You can create the old structure also when you create the project like that. But when you create the actual Angular 17 project, all the components are by default standalone. How do we know that? So over here, we have got the standalone true. So if you make it false, then it won't be a standalone. Now, standalone means it is very dependent. It doesn't have any dependency on any project or anywhere. So this is the actual reusable component we get by using the standalone. Now, so on the language change, first we need to call that API and get the question. So let's just first write that. So this is my select dropdown. So here ng model change, or let's use the change only on topic change round bracket. Let's create this function. Now I'm going to use this dot service dot, which function we have to call? Get question by topic ID. And here you need to pass. Now we need to get the selected topic also. So let's create one more variable, just like selected language. Topic, colon number, let's initialize with 0. And this variable we will bind to our dropdown with ng model. Like that. And this variable we will use it to call this dot, whatever the selected line topic is there that we are passing. Then subscribe normal thing. API response model. Now we need to store the question. So let's create a variable. Again, before creating question, obviously we need to create the interface. So let's just see. So many things are there. I will use a shortcut. JSON to TS. One site will be there that allows you to convert. If you put the JSON, it will give you the interface directly created. You can see, I got it. Let's copy this. So it will save our time, nothing else. Export, interface, question. We don't need equal to. Now, this in the home component, we have to create the data variable where we will store the question list. So question list colon model square bracket is equal to empty. We need the import. Let's add it. And whatever the data we get, that we need to store into this variable. So this dot question list is equal to res dot data. And this question list, we will use it on the for loop. So where this call 12 should be repeated. So I will use star ng for over here. Let question of question list. And this question I have to pass to the question card. Now in question card, we have to create the input. So here, let's create the input to receive the question information. Question data type, we have already created the interface, so that only we can use it. Let's add the input. What it is saying has no initializer. Why it is saying? Let's add question mark over here so that it won't ask for the initialization. We have created interface, but why it is saying initialization? Let it be. So now for this question card component, we have created our input. So wherever we are using this component, we can pass the input to this. So now if we see over here, once I add the square brackets, so question, and we need to pass the data like this. So now whatever the question, so means we are using the for loop on this card. So that much time our question card component will get reload, and we are for each question card component instance, we are passing the different question. So that we will use it over here to display. So now what are the static things were there that we just need to make it dynamic. So in first h2, here we need to show the question name. So question dot question. Then here, if you see the UI, here we need to show the language logo. So we are getting that. So we just need to make it dynamic. So square bracket, and here question dot logo we are getting this. We will bind it over here. Then this is my answer. So answer sometimes may come in answer. I have sometimes may you will get HTML code also, because in some answer I have the coding snippet and everything. So for that we will, if you directly print it, let's just first directly try to print it. Then I will show the other way. Question dot answer. And here over here, we need to show the language names. So question dot language, and topic also we need to show it over here. Topic name. Now let's try to save. Okay, now home component again we had, yeah, everything is done. So let's just save and check it now. So currently we don't have anything, right? So let's see now. So if we select Angular, then we get the topics. Now, if I select, let's say, pipe, so we have got the page, API call is there. Get questions by topic ID 30. We have got the question also. So here you can see after getting the questions are visible over here. But here you can see I'm getting paragraphs, span, some percent symbol. Because I told you like I might get HTML content. So this is answer we have shown, but it contains some HTML tags also. So that is because I get the HTML content. When I create the question, I have the editor installed. So that's why you will get the question in the HTML format. So in question card component, without directly interpolating it, you can just use the inner HTML. And this you can pass it over there. Now you can see the properly how it should look like. So if I select Angular, if I select pipe, so now you can see we are getting something properly. But again, one thing is remaining. This is pre. So for pre means a tag where we can show the code. So for pre, we just need to use one CSS. So let me just get that. Wherever we have pre now, let's try to add background color. Let's add black first. So like this, I was talking here. So we just need to create a class and put it in our question card component, PRE. We just need a background color. Let me just get this color, what it has. Instead of directly using that black, I will use this color. And important, we need to add. So let's just save and check. Angular component. But why it is not adding that color? Please there. Did we not save it? But let's add that in the global CSS. Okay, now it came. Let's just save and try one more time. Angular component. Oh, okay, yeah, it is visible. So wherever we have the pre-tag, so now you can see contents are properly visible, just like this. Okay, so this is how we have created our Angular means interview question. Now if I select the React components, so here you can say logo is also common. Now there are some normal things we can take care. Now if you see currently React is there, but now if I change the Angular, still my React questions are visible. So once I change, I need to empty that question list. So let's do that. Just a small thing we can take care now. So on the language change, what we will do, we will just empty the question list. So this nothing but we will empty on language change. So here. So because once we change the language, there is no point to show those previous languages. So let's say select a random. Now if I select the React, so you can see we don't have any question. But again, this also doesn't make sense. If I have selected the language, so I should able to see all the questions into that language. Why let's say I need to read all the question of that particular language. I don't need to read topic wise. So again, we have one API. I have created one API. So that you will integrate, that is get all question by language ID. So let's just quickly integrate this also. So here you just need to pass the language ID. So here, once you pass it, you will get all the question of that language ID, whatever the questions you have. So let's do that. So let's go to our service. Let me just quickly do that. Let's just copy paste. Just the method name will go over here. Get question by topic ID instead of that language ID. Let's make it language ID. Let's provide it over here. Now, once we change the language also, two things we are doing. On language change, first we are getting the topic, and just like that, we will create one more function to get the questions also on get question by language. And here we will pass ID as a parameter, or yeah, we can pass ID as a parameter, number, and this function we will use it over here once we change the language. Event we will pass it over here. Same thing, nothing else. So just instead of this, get question by language ID we will use. And this ID we have to pass it over here. So let's just test. Now if I select the language, see, once I select the language, I get all the questions. So many lists will be there. But if I select specific pipe, so again, I will get the pipe related question only, just to filter it out. But again, if I select the React, so you can see I'm getting all the question related to all the topics. So again, if I have to filter it out, let's say in React, I don't have those questions. I'm adding it right now. So let's say basic overview, you just have some question. If we select component, we get some another question. Like this, we can take care. So this is what I wanted to explain. Again, small things like this question count. Again, it's just an API. So you can call this API, get question count by language. So you will get this data, language, and the question count it has. So you can just make an API call and just show that. So this is what I wanted to explain. This is not again any project, but you might use this kind of scenario in your actual projects also. Scenarios will be anything, but this kind of thing you will use it. Again, I will host it. So whatever the question I have so many questions related to Angular and the JavaScript. In JS interviews also, I have so many various programming snippets what we normally get asked in the interview, that whatever I can gather, that I have gathered and put it over here, so you can use this. So if you are new to this channel of mine, you can just hit subscribe button so that you will get all the notification I will be posting. So that's it with this current video. Hope again I will be coming with another project videos or some topics with Angular 17 in coming days. So that's it. Thank you.